Joining us on the phone for more, Francis Rocca is Vatican correspondent for the Wall Street Journal, who just published a piece on the subject. Francis, thanks so much for the time today. I mean, the first take is that it's a rather informed view of how finance works around the globe. I mean, they go into credit default swaps and a whole lot of other things.
That's true. There were a few very specific mentions. It was mostly dedicated to ethical principles. It came from, it was a joint product of the Doctrine Office and the Office for Social Justice, but it did mention credit default swaps and securitization, derivatives. It did specifically, yeah, and also offshore tax havens.
Francis, can you put this into context of how the Vatican has traditionally approached these sort of structural issues around finance, around inequality? A lot of people might be wondering, why is the Vatican weighing in on this? But maybe you can give some context.
Well, there's a long tradition of being highly critical of the financial system. I mean, you know, and even into the 19th century, the Catholic Church was still condemning, you know, lending money for interest. It doesn't do that anymore. But this is nothing new, to be very, very critical of capitalism and finance. And now this Pope has taken it to a new level because his rhetoric is much more aggressive, and you know, he talked about money as the dung of the devil, and talks about this is an economy that kills, and you know, trickle down economics. And so he's the substance of what's being said isn't much different than what was being said by the previous popes, but he just puts a lot more rhetorical power into it.
So from that standpoint, I mean, what is the Catholic Church suggesting as the right type of market to move forward? If capitalism isn't it, what is?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that they're quite saying ditch capitalism, but they're certainly in this document calling for a lot more regulation. I mean, they said, you know, the national regulatory systems aren't adequate because in a globalized world, so there needs to be more coordination. They pulled back a little bit. There was a document in 2011 under the previous pope that even suggested the possibility of a world central bank and a global authority. They didn't go that far this time, but they said there needs to be more coordination. They also made sort of milder recommendations that there should be more ethics education in business schools, and that there should be ethics committees. Banks should have ethics committees alongside their boards of directors that will make sure that they live up to ethical standards.
Francis, we sort of knew when Francis was named Pope, given his background, his work with the poor, this is not out of character. But the church manages a lot of money and sometimes gets criticized for living large in some ways, just the way the church is presented, especially at the Vatican. Do they need to look in the mirror on this?
Well, yeah, I mean, the subject of tax havens is kind of a sensitive point because, I mean, the Vatican Bank, you know, the Vatican city-state is its own territory, and so the Vatican Bank, you know, has been, well, I mean, it's not part of the Italian system, and so but over the last almost 10 years, they've closed thousands of accounts that they thought were inappropriate, so they've been trying to clean that up. That's certainly true. And another point that the Pope gets criticized on is that he said that he doesn't seem to appreciate enough how much capitalism has done to bring people out of poverty. And this document did acknowledge that. It said that it's true that a lot of people have been pulled out of poverty in recent years, but there's still a lot of poor people left, and there's still a lot of inequality. And they also had a political note too, which he said that if you get this kind of, you know, global financial class that's not subject to regulation, it can become an oligarchy and it can overpower political actors.
Really interesting. Everyone should take a look at it, and we appreciate you helping us understand it, Francis. Thanks, Francis Rocca, the Vatican correspondent for the Wall Street Journal.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.